Human trafficking is a dark and often invisible crime. It is modern-day slavery. Criminals exploit vulnerable people for labor or for sex. They use force, fraud, or coercion to control their victims. These victims are often moved far from their homes, across cities, states, or even international borders. Their identities are stolen or erased by their captors. They are given new names, forced to lie about their past, and stripped of any identification like a passport or driver's license. This makes them ghosts in the system, living in the shadows without a name or a history that anyone can trace back to them. The challenge for law enforcement is immense. When authorities raid a location where trafficking is suspected, they may find several individuals who are too frightened to speak. They may not know where they are or what their real names are. Sometimes, tragically, victims are found deceased, with no clue as to who they were. Without an identity, there is no way to notify a family that has been searching for a lost loved one. There is no way to build a strong case against the traffickers who committed these terrible crimes. The victim becomes a nameless statistic, a John or Jane Doe, and their story remains untold. This anonymity is a powerful tool for the traffickers. It allows them to operate without fear of being linked to a specific person. If a victim has no official identity, it is much harder to prove they were kidnapped or held against their will. The criminals can claim the person was with them voluntarily. For the victims, this loss of self is deeply traumatic. They are disconnected from their families, their communities, and their own past. They are made to feel worthless and forgotten, which is a key part of the psychological control that traffickers use to maintain their power and silence those they enslave. This is where my world, the world of forensic science, steps in. We are trained to find answers in the silent evidence left behind. Our work is to give a name back to the nameless. We look at the human body and the traces it leaves behind to uncover the truth. In the fight against human trafficking, forensic science becomes a crucial weapon. It provides the objective, scientific proof needed to identify a victim, reconnect them with their family, and hold their captors accountable for their actions. It is a slow, methodical process, but it is one that can pierce through the darkness of this crime. Forensic science is essentially the application of scientific methods to solve legal questions. Think of it as science for the courtroom. We use established principles from biology, chemistry, and medicine to analyze evidence. In human trafficking cases, our primary goal is identification. We need to answer the fundamental question: who is this person? The tools we use are precise and powerful. They can reveal a person's identity from the smallest biological traces. These methods are not just for television shows. They are used every day in labs and morgues around the world to bring clarity to complex and tragic situations. One of the most fundamental tools is fingerprint analysis. Every person has a unique pattern of ridges and whorls on their fingertips. These patterns are formed before birth and remain unchanged throughout a person's life. Even identical twins have different fingerprints. When a victim is rescued, their fingerprints can be taken and compared against national and international databases. These databases contain fingerprints from criminal records, visa applications, and other official sources. A match can instantly provide a name, an age, and a last known address, giving investigators their first solid lead in uncovering the victim's history. DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, is another cornerstone of forensic identification. It is the genetic blueprint found in nearly every cell of our bodies. A small sample of blood, saliva, hair, or skin can provide a complete DNA profile. This profile is unique to each individual, except for identical twins. We can compare a victim's DNA to samples stored in missing persons databases. Families searching for a loved one can provide their own DNA samples to be checked against unidentified victims. A DNA match is incredibly powerful evidence, creating an undeniable link between an unidentified person and a family, desperately searching for answers. Beyond fingerprints and DNA, dental records are also extremely valuable. Our teeth are very durable and can often survive conditions that destroy other parts of the body, like fire or decomposition. Every person has a unique dental history, filled with fillings, crowns, extractions, or specific tooth alignments. If investigators suspect they know who a victim might be, they can request their dental records from their family dentist. A forensic odontologist, or a forensic dental expert, can then compare the records to the victim's teeth. A match in dental work can provide a positive identification, giving a name to someone who might otherwise have remained a mystery. Let me walk you through a typical, though hypothetical, scenario that shows how these pieces fit together. Imagine a police raid on a rural farm where it is believed people are being forced to work in horrible conditions. During the raid, officers find several individuals who are malnourished and scared. They also discover human remains buried in a shallow grave on the property. The living victims are too traumatized to provide reliable information, and the deceased individual has no identification. The traffickers deny everything, claiming the workers were there by choice and that they know nothing about the body. The first step for my team would be at the morgue with the unidentified remains. We would conduct a full autopsy to determine the cause of death. During this examination, we would collect evidence for identification. We would carefully take fingerprints from the deceased, hoping the skin is in good enough condition. We would also extract a tooth for dental comparison and take a sample of bone or tissue to develop a DNA profile. At the same time, crime scene investigators would be collecting evidence from the farm, looking for personal items that might contain DNA, like a toothbrush or a hairbrush. The living survivors would also be a focus. Once they are in a safe place, forensic nurses would examine them, documenting injuries and collecting biological evidence. Their fingerprints and DNA swabs would be taken, not for criminal purposes, but for identification. These samples are run through databases. Let's say one of the survivors' fingerprints matches an old visa application for a woman who entered the country 2 years ago and was later reported missing by her family. This is a breakthrough. We now have a name and a story. Her family can be contacted, and her testimony becomes crucial for the case. For the deceased victim, the process continues. The fingerprints yield no match in the criminal database. However, the DNA profile is successfully generated and uploaded to the National Missing Persons database. Weeks later, we get a hit. The DNA is a familial match to a couple who had submitted their own DNA kits after their son disappeared 5 years earlier. With this lead, we request the son's dental records. Our forensic odontologist compares the records to the victim's teeth and confirms a positive identification. We have now given a name to the person in the grave, providing his family with a tragic but necessary closure and giving prosecutors the evidence needed to charge the traffickers with murder. The work of identifying a victim of human trafficking sends ripples of change through the entire justice system. For the families, the impact is profound and deeply personal. Imagine spending years searching for a missing child or sibling, living with the agonizing uncertainty of not knowing if they are alive or dead. A positive identification, even in the worst-case scenario, provides an answer. It allows a family to grieve, to hold a proper funeral, and to begin the long process of healing. For survivors who are identified and reconnected with their families, it is a chance to reclaim their life and their identity, a crucial step in recovering from their trauma. For the criminal justice system, a positive identification is the key that unlocks the case. It transforms an anonymous victim into a real person with a history, a family, and a right to justice. Prosecutors can now build a much stronger case against the traffickers. The victim's story can be told in court, supported by hard scientific evidence. This makes it much more difficult for criminals to escape accountability. When we can prove who the victim was and what happened to them, we can secure convictions that lead to long prison sentences, dismantling the criminal networks responsible for so much suffering and preventing them from harming others. This work also has a broader societal benefit. Each successful identification sends a clear message to traffickers. You cannot erase people. Science can and will find the truth. It strengthens the rule of law and reinforces the value we place on every single human life. It also helps us understand the true scale and nature of human trafficking. By identifying victims, we can gather data on where they come from, how they were recruited, and the routes they were taken on. This information is vital for law enforcement and policymakers to develop better strategies for prevention and intervention, protecting future potential victims. Ultimately, forensic science serves as a voice for those who have been silenced. It is a slow, patient, and meticulous pursuit of truth. While the work can be emotionally taxing, the outcome is what drives us forward. Every time we can return a name to an unidentified person, we are not just solving a puzzle, we are restoring dignity to a human being. We are providing closure to a family and delivering justice for a crime that thrives in anonymity. In the ongoing battle against human trafficking, science offers a small but powerful beacon of hope, proving that no one is truly forgotten.